All I know is wake up, do it, podcast, go to bed. Wake up, do it, podcast, go to bed. Yes, this is another episode of Pop Screen, the Geek Show's dedicated show about the good, the bad, and the ridiculous of movies either starring by or about pop stars. No, the podcast covers just a broad range of musical and cinematic genres, from country and western to hip-hop, from documentaries to science fiction, and also whatever the shit this is. I'm your host, Graham Williamson. I'm a video artist and filmmaker who regularly writes for the Geek Show, and I have been joined for this episode by...
Hi, I am Robyn. I am a writer, actress, filmmaker, and regular contributor to the Geek Show, and also a regularly make appearances on Pop Screen, particularly on episodes which are some absolute bullshit.
Well, this is far from the worst thing we've covered. I think we both agree with that. But it might be the hardest to describe.
It should be stated, this is kind of a sequel episode and also kind of the culmination to a very long time running joke that has been happening ever since we reviewed The Idol, which may well be the worst thing we have reviewed.
I would heartily agree with that. I mean, we've reviewed some bad films, but a film has the good grace to not go on for 5 hours. Which is maybe a way into this, because once again we are reviewing something that is not a film. It's a blink, Robyn. Did you know that?
I was unaware of that. I was aware that this was for a while exclusively screened in strip clubs.
Yes, that's true as well.
But it is unreasonably funny. Is that was the case? It was exclusively screened in LA strip clubs, which is possibly the most Harmony Korine thing ever.
100%. Because this is our second Harmony Korine episode after we did Spring Breakers a couple of years back,
which is a great film.
It's funny with Korine. I remember being kind of lukewarm on Spring Breakers the first time I saw it, and then when I rewatched it for the podcast with you, I thought this is great. And there's every possibility that every single Harmony Korine film will hit me in a different way depending on when I am, what state I'm in when I'm watching it.
Yes, I think he's very much one of those filmmakers. I would consider myself, in spite of what I'm going to say today, I would consider myself a fan of Harmony Korine. I think he's a really interesting filmmaker. But this one's interesting. I mean, this is his first edgelord production, I believe.
How hard did you laugh when you first heard the name of his new production company?
I laughed so hard. I think we even mentioned this in the Spring Breakers episode. It is extremely funny. I love it's very good and very fitting, I think, as a production company name. He's really leaning into it.
100%, yeah. And he said that what EDGELRD makes, which includes all sorts of stuff. They've done commercials, they've done photography, they've done music videos, but they've also done, at last count, I believe, 3 films, 2 of them directed by Korine. But they're not films, Robyn. They're blinks with an X at the end.
So I wouldn't expect any less. What the fuck? And somehow this isn't the funniest thing we're going to get onto, because
No.
This is just an incomprehensible experience.
Yes. He's, for listeners who are unfamiliar with Korine, I suppose we'll be going a bit into his history as we discuss the film, but what you need to know is that he's been talking for a while now about feeling like we're in a post-cinema age, and saying that he's more excited by video games and TikToks and streamers than he is films. And part of what he's doing with Aggro Drift, the film we're talking about today, and with the wider EDGELRD project, is to try and make a kind of post cinema that speaks to the world, the sort of mixture of real and online that we move through every day, which, as projects go, very interesting, I would say.
And I'm very for that conceptually. I think that's really interesting. In practice, I don't know so far from what I've seen of his recent projects if he fully does it in practice, but or at least he does do it, but I don't know how effective I personally found it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where part of me thinks, well, you can't judge it by the hype. You know, obviously when Korine is, he went to Venice to premiere this, and it was during the SAG-AFTRA strike, so there was obviously more of an impetus for directors to promote their own films. I know we would have probably gone anyway because it's Venice, it's a big arty festival, but he was the only person there promoting it, and he went there wearing a replica of a demon mask that you see in the film, smoking a cigar and claiming to be developing a technology that can record dreams.
He's brilliant. He's just a Connor O'Malley character at this point. Going around. He's going to smoke 500 cigarettes for 5G.
So, you know, part of you sees this and thinks, well, this is hype and you shouldn't judge a film by hype. But I think he is genuinely sincere about thinking that we need something new to replace cinema, something that isn't so 20th century. And I think, judged by that metric, judged by his own metric, I do think this doesn't work.
Yes, I agree. It's the thing which I went into this thinking it's going to be this big, wild reinvention kind of cinema, and the problem is that it kind of isn't. And that bugged me. It's kind of too... It doesn't go hard enough with breaking the mold, I think.
I think if you're talking about it purely in terms of does this feel like a conventional film, there are things that Korine has made in the past. I'm thinking particularly of Gummo, of Trash Humpers, that feel more like a break with conventional film form than this. Because I'm going to say nice things about the film later because there are quite a lot of things I enjoyed in it. But
there are.
I think if you showed this to someone who completely blind and didn't fill them in on who Korine is and what he's trying to do, they wouldn't say, wow, this is the new form of the future. They would think they had seen a film, and they would probably think they'd seen quite a bad film at that.
Yeah, it's the thing is a lot. This has been a bit of a Marmite film, which is really odd to say for a film which is so based in kind of Floridian aesthetics and very American. But at the same time, it's kind of, some people love it and some people hate it. And I get why people love it. There are moments where I was like, I get what the appeal is. But it's the thing about it is people say it is kind of this deconstruction of masculinity and of a revenge narrative. And I think it deconstructs it less than John Wick does. Because I'm just like, this is kind of very straightforward. It's kind of, even for the location, it feels, in terms of video game comparisons, which there's more I can get into later, one of the video games which I love so dearly is Hotline Miami, which is this brilliant kind of video game from a point of view of an assassin, which I think says a lot more about kind of the cycles of violence and the nature of being an assassin and the nature of killing in video games, and kind of when does a person become part of the set design, kind of. If you've killed someone, are they just a feature that you can no longer interact with? And that doesn't really do that, in spite of having the potential to. Hotline Miami 2 is basically the Watchmen of video games in terms of like the multi-layered narrative thing. And it feels like if you're doing that, and even in the ways he riffs on Grand Theft Auto, which is the most obvious kind of the point that he's playing off of. And that is where it does touch on almost being something I love. and almost like really tapping into something interesting. I think it doesn't really say it more than the things it's riffing on.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is a 90-minute film with an entirely linear narrative, simple characterization. It has one big wild visual swing, which I think if you know anything about Aggro Drift, you will know about, which is that the whole film is shot in infrared.
Which is cool, but it's not utilized enough for one. I mean, it is used all the way through, obviously, but there's moments where I realized it's doing this, but does it know what it's doing? Because there's something about the quality of it is there's a moment in a strip club which made me realize the potential of this fully
Yeah.
is when somebody lays a hand on someone and you see the handprint kind of linger the infrared, and I'm thinking, oh, there are so many things they could have done with that. About the one scene they use kind of hate signatures being left behind on people and stuff, and kind of if you're making a story about the impact of violence and of revenge and stuff, you could have done a lot more with the kind of seeing heat trails land. And it's also when people are killed off, it's kind of almost it could have played into that Hotline Miami thing of I was thinking, wouldn't it be really cool if when he kills someone off, they go cold and blue on the heat signatures?
Yes.
And it's kind of like they're no longer a contributing person in this, in kind of a weird kind of person becoming scenery thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think as someone who has remarkably little experience watching things shot in infrared, like I'm sure there's a whole section of YouTube that is just infrared tube where people absolutely geek out over these videos, but I know nothing about it as a technology. The thing that was interesting to me is, and I suppose probably the thing which persuaded him to use it for this project, is it's kind of anti-identification in a lot of ways. If someone appears on infrared film, they show up as hot because human beings have a high body temperature, but they only do that if they're hot relative to whatever else is in the room. So if someone lights a cigarette, or to pull but one example out of my head,
just one
shoots fire out of their crotch.
That's true, which happens quite a bit.
Yeah. Then they do, their heat signature does sort of fade back a bit, and it's sort of interesting, this kind of digital morphing of identity. But again, I don't know if it's really saying anything about that at the end of the day.
It's the annoying thing to me is that it's consistently almost something.
Yes.
And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, Harmony Korine, you're actually a really interesting filmmaker who has made films which have said interesting things before. And I think this one keeps almost going there and just stopping short every so often. And so it just has me going, okay, but how interested can I really be if they're never going to delve into the ideas that it almost approaches?
Yeah. And I suppose the defense to this claim would be that Korine has always been a filmmaker of vibes over plot. He's been a vibes filmmaker since before people were saying vibes for everything. So I don't know if he's aiming to do anything other than luxuriate this kind of high-tech nihilistic mood for a bit. But I think Trash Humpers does that, but also I could write essays about what Trash Humpers is saying underneath it all. I am very serious about Trash Humpers. And I don't.
need to see it. It's a blind spot. It's a Trash Humpers is my great blind spot alongside like The Godfather and stuff. It's true. It's true. I do love the Letterboxd review. Just to quote one from Aggro Drift, which says, "Harmony Korine could feature old people humping trash for 90 minutes, and I'd watch it and give it 5 stars." Which I'm thinking, well, do I have the film for you?
Yes. Yeah, I bet when you wrote that, you never thought it was going to get tested. But yeah. So it's odd, and it does, you're right to say, have these moments where it keeps hinting at something a bit more than what it delivers. And the big surprise to me, the most pleasant surprise to me, is the best scene in the film and the most deeply felt scene in the film is the bit with Travis Scott.
Yes, I was wondering when we get onto it, because that's the bit where it always does something more. In fact, it's where it most does say something more.
Yeah.
It's also quite funny how kind of everybody's appearances are kind of neutralized by this look. With Travis Scott, you're just like, nah, that's Travis Scott. Yeah, who has been a running joke of this podcast, is we always mention in every episode Travis Scott, often in relation to something incredibly tasteless. Because here's the thing, I would say we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, but the thing is, there are so many elephants in the room on this film, it looks like a party from Babylon. I genuinely
Yeah, which elephant in particular are we taking aim at here?
And we shall take aim at all of them.
But yeah, at the moment, we're talking about Travis Scott because he is somewhat incredibly going to be in the Odyssey.
He
which,
is.
listeners, you may well have seen it by the time this comes out. We have not. We're recording this a few days ahead of its release, but it was in the Super Bowl trailer, wasn't it, that Christopher Nolan just sort of casually revealed, oh yeah, I cast Travis Scott.
You cast Travis Scott in it.
Didn't leak. Yeah.
And there's a bit where his role, so far as we know, I'm not sure we entirely know his role in the film, other than that he sends a bunch of people to their deaths, which is not the first time he's done that. I couldn't help it.
Yes, because that's, you know, for all of the attempts that have been made to make the Odyssey a very controversial film, it's weird that Elon Musk and the rest of them aren't just going, hey, this film features like a starring role for someone who caused and then failed to apologize for a lethal crowd crush at one of his concerts.
It's because they kind of like him, I think, in like a weird way. I think here's the thing I need to get into. I have never fully got Travis Scott as like a phenomenon. I get that he has this big fan following. People do say, oh, he's really great in person. I'm like, I don't want to find out. But here's the thing. It's like, I've heard some of his hit songs, and sometimes I'm like, I kind of get what his deal is, but I've never really got the phenomenon. I did briefly get the phenomenon when he released a song last year, which features the funniest section. I almost sent this to you in advance of the song, which features the lyrics, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, wobbly, wiggly, whoa. Which made me, unfortunately for someone on the autism spectrum, guess what I repeated at every given opportunity? For the next few weeks after hearing that bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, my sort of opinions on Travis Scott as a musician is that I'm not a fan, but I do sort of get why it's big. There have been times when I've been, you know, in a club or in a pub or somewhere, and it's come on, and it sounded really great. And I think that's...
And I get it. I get that. Yeah. That's the atmosphere. That's exactly everything.
And I think, you know, I watched the Netflix Trainwreck documentary about the Astroworld disaster in preparation for this. Firstly, Trainwreck, man, what a rubbish series that is.
I've gathered it's not great.
It's just like all of the ticks of Netflix documentaries, up to and including the fact that they seem to start with a trailer for themselves. And I just
they did have an episode called Poop Cruise, though, which is funny because there's poo.
That's yeah. I can make an exception for some of the more intellectual ones they've done. But yeah, I don't get why they always start with a trailer. It's like, I've clicked on it. You don't have to persuade me to watch it. But the sort of vibe I get from a festival like Astroworld, or even just a Travis Scott concert, is that it's the nearest that pure hip hop, that, you know, hip hop that isn't rap rock or rap metal or anything. Yeah. It's the nearest that pure hip hop gets to proper head-banging heavy metal. It's really, aptly for what the film we're discussing, it's aggro music. And if you want to go off and really like let off some steam at a concert and go crazy, it's very good for that. It's not something I would listen to at home, but then it's not designed for that environment.
No. But the interesting thing in comparison to that is that Travis Scott possibly plays the quietest and most nuanced character in the film.
He does. It's so strange. The main character, is it Bo?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's B.O.
I was
it's the smelly
by
man.
That. Yeah, our stinky lead character. Has this sort of pit stop on his mission where he talks to a kid called Zion, who he's been mentoring as a hitman. And it's Travis Scott with an enormous blunt giving this incredibly sort of downbeat monologue about how he doesn't know how to do anything else other than this hitman life. And as you say, yeah, it's the one moment of genuine emotional depth in the film, and purely in pop screen terms, in terms of what I'm watching it for, I thought, oh yeah, good on you. You know, I'm watching a pop star movie where the pop star is the bit that really hits it out of the park. I enjoy that now I'm doing this show.
It's the most interesting part is that it's in that moment and a couple of others where it really taps into where I thought about the most thought-provoking things in the film in relation particularly to Grand Theft Auto, and the fact that I thought of the people's attempts to play Grand Theft Auto online and play as a regular civilian and do normal things and abide by the law. And it's kind of like, how do you pretend to be a person when you're built for violence? And I kind of thought about that, and it's the strangeness of that is, what is there to do as like a regular, calm, loving person if you're built as this avatar of like violence and death into a world?
If the whole logic of the world around you is built towards violence, as one may argue our world is, there's this running visual motif where the characters' actions are paralleled by these demonic figures that appear in the sky, which is the most fantastical bit of the film. And I loved that. I think there's a real sense of helplessness in that.
That's one of my favorite parts of the film. In fact, I love that almost being an implicit player figure controlling characters. If we're going by the whole video game angle, and it's images like that that made me see what people see in the film, because it's moments like that where I get a bit of a kind of Panos Cosmatos Mandy vibe to it, of the kind of the vengeance of violence beyond your control, kind of warping your reality as you see it. It's something that made me think. I almost get it as kind of this horrifying, brain damaged view of the world where kind of you've lost yourself entirely, and now everything is kind of this demonic hellscape because you've just surrendered yourself entirely to a nightmare existence.
Yeah, it made me. I wanted to use the phrase celestial mocap. I think that's why I wrote in my notes. It has that sort of
Doctor Who, the celestial mocap.
you can't say that now.
You can't say that now.
It's the mocap.
It's the mocap.
He's a German now. Yeah, it just has this sense that these characters are all, as you say, being controlled by whether it is a religious figure, you know, whether it is something supernatural, or whether it is, as you say, just the player, the person playing this video game. It's one of the more reflective parts of the film. It's the one that most justifies some of the stuff he's been saying about being post-cinema, because as you say, you can only make sense of this if you're watching it thinking that this is at least game adjacent.
Indeed. But there are these occasional gorgeous visuals. Like one of my favorite visuals in the film, even though it is corrupted to hell on any streaming version because of the rain and everything, and it pixelates the shit, is this gorgeous shot, like one of the first shots of the film, where he's strangling this man in a swimming pool, and above him you see this giant kind of looming demon over the skyline, kind of mimicking his movements. I'm just thinking, okay, I kind of get the vibe this is going for, and I wish I felt that all the way through.
Yeah, I think one of the problems it has is that, even considering this is by no means a sort of film led by its script, and it by no means a film of deep characterization, even with those caveats, the dialogue is not bad enough to be funny, and it's also really not good.
Counterpoint: a dance bitches dance.
That's the guy you sent to kill, right? That's who the guy.
Yeah, the guy, the dog from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, yeah. That's that his character name is Toto, played by Joshua Tilley, in what is, against some competition, the most over the top performance in the whole film.
It is. He has demon wings, and he has a bunch of like phantasm jowers, which is completely inexplicable. I don't know what the hell was happening there.
He keeps doing it, like when he's talking, he keeps thrusting his hips, but thrusting his hips in this particular way that I haven't seen since, we were school kids trying to tell rude jokes.
He looks like he's skiing.
Yeah, he clenches his fists and pulls his arms backwards in a way that I think once you pass about 13, you realise that people don't do that when they have sex, but that's what he does.
It's true. It doesn't help with the skiing comparison as well, but he's got these dual katanas at all times, which I swore were ski sticks at one point.
Yeah, it's a very silly performance, and is it what the film needed to be more like, or did it need to be less like that? It's hard to really tell, because you've got him on one end and you've got Travis Scott being quite genuinely soulful on the other end, and everyone else is just sort of stuck in an unsatisfying middle, I think.
I preferred when it leaned into the melancholy and kind of the weird, it's again when it was Mandy-esque of kind of the weird, I have lost everything, or except he hasn't. He's lost nothing. But it's kind of in this weird kind of middle world of kind of feeling detached from reality and lonesome, and kind of having a life dictated by forces beyond your control. And it's particularly when it's talking about cycles of violence, and I am a killer. All I know how to do is kill. I can't pass this down to the next generation. And then revealing that he has already done that with Travis Scott's character, that almost does something as like a consequence that has to be dealt with. And I think the film is both too short and does too little. It's very one note. It's unfortunately there to like actually make that work.
There's the hair of a theme in there too, isn't it? Because as well as reflecting on his mentor, Zion, the Travis Scott character, he's also constantly thinking about his wife and kids.
His real character wife, his wife who is a real character.
His wife was played by an actress called Chania Middleton. Any relation to Kate, do we think?
that would be funny. I've got to say, perhaps this is part of the Grand Theft Auto influence. Characterization of women in this film is non-existent.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going there. I think it would be easy to say that it's bad, but I think it's wrong. I think that implies that the women are characterized at all, and they are not.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily an issue, I think. I don't know if...
Not entirely.
Yeah, I mean, to what extent are the characters in Trash Humpers fully rounded characters? Not very, I would argue. It's sort of beside what the film's doing, but again, like his sort of pre-release hype about reinventing cinema, I think he is slightly too sincere about it for it to be brushed off. I think there is a
Yeah.
part of him that really wants this family relationship to add some depth. I've seen some reviews of this that basically say this is Corinne's reflection on what it's like to be like a 50-something father and husband who also runs a production company called EDGELRD. It's like, how do you compartmentalize this?
That's interesting. In fact, I wish he'd lead even more into that with what he does and kind of play with that angle even more and with that personal angle, because it would potentially make his films even wilder than what he's currently doing. Like, sure, he might be making his AI baby burglar movie, which has already come out where like people which is about how his friend's house got robbed and he cast the people who burgled him, which is extremely funny. That is unreasonably funny. But it's almost, I wonder, there's this angle of sincerity to his earlier work, which kind of was a really nice balance, and I think the two need to reconcile more, particularly as he grows older.
Because I mean, when you were saying, there's this element where it could be sad. I know a lot of people think about Corinne as purely a sort of prankster and a provocateur and a shock artist, but he is very good at loneliness. He is very good at sort of finding moments of beauty in wasted life. I think the last time we talked about Corinne on this podcast, you mentioned Curb Dance.
I did mention Curb Dance, which is my favorite Harmony Korine project.
It's so joyful.
It's wonderful. I was so tempted to mention it again. I should also say that the thing that I would note that even though I saw a lot of Korine's short work in this one, in particularly in Aggro Drift, it does feel like some of his shorts, albeit stretched out to a feature length. There's a bit of Blood of Havana in it, even though that is
that one.
It is just him in an old man mask wandering about on the street shouting about stuff, which is fairly fitting to him. Also, there is like street fighting, as there is in every Harmony Korine movie. In this one, there's just like a razor fight at like a trailer park.
Should we tell the uninitiated, because not everyone listening to this will be as deep in the Korine hole as we are in the K hole, as it's referred to.
The K hole. Is it time to once again mention Fight Harm?
I think it is. Yes, I think it is. Would you like to explain to our audience what Fight Harm was?
Fight Harm was the unfinished first Harmony Korine movie, if I'm not mistaken, that had to be cancelled after filming about 10 minutes of footage because he kept getting it was him going up and rage baiting people on the street into fist fighting him, and he kept ending up in a hospital or arrested, so they had to cancel the production of it. You can see at least most of the surviving footage on the Blu-ray edition of Gummo.
Oh, it's actually there. I found like different sources about that. I'm really glad that got out there.
I believe it's in a documentary. It contains footage of it, but I'm not certain.
I still have to buy that. I love the idea that there's a 4K release of Gummo.
It's true.
What a great world.
It's true. You can watch it in the bath.
Yes. So that was like, as you say, a very, very early project for him that got cancelled. And I think when he's going on about, I show speed is our Evers Tarkovsky and all this bollocks that he talks.
It's really funny though.
It's very funny, but you can also see it as part of a sort of consistent thing with him, that he's talking about TikToks and video games now in the way that he did about like reality TV and vaudeville acts back in his early days. He's always interested in finding these either trashy or obsolete cultural forms that aren't seen as something to do with cinema and using them as a key influence.
It's true. He came across the lost art of trash humping and put that on screen.
Yes. In its time, one of America's biggest spectator sports. President Chester A. Arthur did it.
It's true. We need to see the Harmony Korine Dwyle flonking movie.
Dwyle flonking.
Oh, you thought I wouldn't bring up Dwyle flonking on the Harmony Korine Aggro Drift podcast?
I'm amazed it took us so long to talk about Dwyle flonking. That is the most Harmony Korine thing that happens in Britain, right? Cheese rolling's a bit too twee. It's close, but it's a bit kind of, oh, we're so wacky. Dwyle flonking is just ritualized violence.
It's true. We need to get him over here, and he'll just film some random shite. It was whilst watching those strip club scenes with the aforementioned shooting fire out your groin that it made me think, if England wins the World Cup, can we get Harmony Korine over here to like make a movie where he has shots of like that dude with a road flare up his bum and stuff? Just the absolute chaos on the street.
There is something. I know Vice magazine were trying to make it into a whole thing, largely because it would put them back to relevance, I think they thought. But there is something about British carnage that has a certain art house air. I remember, like, when the Brexit negotiations were going on, and a bunch of UKIP supporters tried to do a sort of march on Whitehall, and they started out in the middle of the countryside. It was pissing down with rain. They had like all of their signs slowly getting wiped clean, and they were again letting off big red flares and just sort of wandering around aimlessly in the mud yelling. And I just thought, is this hard to be a god?
It's very true. It's extremely true. I mean, whilst watching this, I unfortunately had thought, even if it's not what it's trying to be all the way through, I was watching Aggro Drift and I was thinking, it's not quite Kill List. That might be a really stupid comparison to make, but occasionally I'm thinking the number of turns this could have taken to be Florida Kill List. It's so many, because I'm just like, it almost is. It's almost big Grand Theft Autoification of Ben Wheatley's Kill List, and it's just not quite.
I mean, Kill List has this sort of conspiracy plot that is willfully opaque, and you can argue about whether it sort of was ever meant to add up to something. But the mission in Aggro Drift is amazingly straightforward, and I actually noted down the line of dialogue because it's like one of about two things that I thought really made me laugh in the way that I wanted more of the dialogue to. But his client, Bo's client, tells him, "You need to kill the big guy. He got too big, too bad. You understand what I'm saying?" Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's not complicated.
It's true. It's true. You got to fight the final boss. Because it is just a video game boss fight. It goes into full, like, the camera movement changes in that final fight. It's fascinating. I do also love that they just, I believe they just, no, it's a knife versus sword fight. It's also the fact that said villain is like really shit at what he does. Yeah. He gets taken out immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the sort of villain. I think you've talked me round about Toto, actually. I think he's a great villain now. He's the sort of villain who only makes sense in a world that is kind of, on some level, pre-programmed. His villainous credentials are that he talks about how bad he is, and that's it.
It's true. It's true. He does keep women in cages.
Oh yeah, that's quite bad. Although, does Harmony Korine think that's bad? They probably
I don't think so.
Premiere. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Did he have like an army of like little Jawa men though? Like, did he have like the phantasm ghouls? They've got machetes.
They did, yes. I mean, my big sort of thing with his monologues is that when if I'm hearing some retro synth arpeggios and a guy with a digitally distorted voice going, "I am the demon child" over them, my first thought is, New Boards of Canada goes hard.
It's true. It's very, very true. It's great. This is Harmony Korine's Inferno.
Yes. God, I love that record. Can we drag this
It's so good.
thing off
It's so
topic
good.
and talk about how fucking great Inferno
Let's talk
is?
about how fucking good Inferno is. There's some context. I got really into Boards of Canada when I was 15, and it has like never changed. This is a little known, but actually quite well known thing because I post about it. Is I don't often post about my bizarre music takes. People say, "Have you listened to this or that?" And I'm just like, I have not listened to anything recently. I have got really into Depeche Mode for no reason, and it's and I did. There was a reason. It's really fucking good. But the thing with is that it's well known, or at least I make it well known. But I really love Boards of Canada. I'm a big fan of them. So when I heard there'd be a new album, I'm like, holy shit!
Yeah.
And I have listened to it in full, which is very rare for me of an album, and yeah.
Particularly impressive since shit's long. I mean, it's a good long album, but you have to carve out a bit of time to listen to it. But yeah, it's really good. There's an Aleister Crowley sample on there, which goes hard.
There is. I think I posted to Blue Sky Philema mentioned as soon as that showed up.
The funniest thing about it is that the word becomes flesh is over the end credits of Backrooms, and I stayed throughout those end credits because I just loved listening to that through a Dolby surround speaker. But I do wonder, if what's his name, the guy who made Backrooms?
Kane Parsons. He's 21 years old.
Yeah, which, it's the sort of age that you used to be when you made your first film, before all opportunities for the young dried up. So good for him. But I really liked Backrooms, and I like it the more. I like it more the more I think about it.
It's one of those films.
I do wonder if he got his copy of Inferno and so it's good of them to give me that track. Wait a minute, there's a track on here called Blood in the Labyrinth.
Blood in the Labyrinth.
Tell me, what?
Yeah, that's interesting because I did listen to the album the day before I saw Backrooms, and
wow, yeah,
it was interesting. I was just like, oh shit, that's the new Boards of Canada one. That's kind of an odd track to choose, but it does make sense. It fits the vibe. It's great. It's great. It's not the weirdest track they could have chosen to put over those credits. But it was listening good. But I'm glad to know that a lot of people have agreed, apart from that one fucking person at The Guardian. I'm never going to write for them anyway. Thankfully, everybody agrees. Doesn't Naraka fucking slap? Isn't that really, really good?
I found out about that Guardian review just through the sheer weight of like drummers going predictable drum patterns. What the fuck are you on about?
It's bizarre. It's also kind of the way that they describe Naraka is completely at odds with the fact that it is the most unusually kind of hopeful there is light at the end of darkness kind of song on the album, which is otherwise kind of like we're fucked. Fucked.
Yeah. It's funny. I found Boards of Canada when I first heard them. I think the first album I listened to all the way through was Giagadi, and I thought it was blissful, and it was only afterwards that I noticed all of the darker stuff because it's cliche now to do it, but they were excavating a certain part of my childhood that no one else was talking about then, which is that kind of educational film, open university kind of stuff. So it's always very funny to me when I read people talk about how sinister and how unsettling they find that music. Because, no, that's not like Satanism. That's not the occult. That's just what it was like in 1980s Britain.
It was just like put a kid on a tractor and kill him.
Yeah.
Throw a kid in a pit full of poo. We're mentioning Apaches on this Aggro Drift podcast. And
Oh man,
also,
imagine Harmony Korine's public information film. Imagine how good that would be.
that would be so good. It would be like 100 gags playing over like kids getting shot. It would just be that. It would just be horrific, and it would have nothing to do with that. That's what it would be. It would be something like "Don't smoke." But it's also in regards to Boards of Canada. I think there's a lot of cases in terms of I think if I went to any of the Boards of Canada listening parties, I would be killed with stones for the controversial opinion that Tomorrow's Harvest is one of my favorite albums of all time, and everybody says boo boo, you're not allowed to like that one. And I'm like, it's my favorite one. It's my favorite one, and no one gets it.
I need to go back to Tomorrow's Harvest. I think, like everyone else, I'm afraid I did bounce off it at first, but every time I just randomly hear a song from it, I do get that feeling of, wait, why did we all dismiss this again? This sounds really good.
It's true. It's the first one I listened to, admittedly, in full, but that one did blow my mind, particularly the track "Nothing Is Real," which there is a very similar track on, which is possibly my favorite from Inferno, which is "Age of Capricorn."
Oh yeah,
which
yeah.
I was quite amazed by, and I hadn't picked up on all of the layers of what that one is doing, and because there is something a lot darker to that one, with what the significance of Capricorn is, and some of the samples at the start. If the people making the Omen film weren't cowards, they let me make one and put that on the soundtrack. R.I.P.
Yes.
Sam Neill. The people who made the Omen 3 were not cowards. That is apparently a real nasty, grim film.
Oh man, Sam Neill, what a dude. Yeah. Yes, well, I think we've gone about as far off topic as it's possible.
So far off topic. Let's talk about the AI.
Yeah, I think before we close up, we need to talk about the AI of it all, because when Korine turned up at Venice with a demon mask on, smoking a cigar, saying he had technology to record people's dreams, he wasn't just talking bollocks. He was mostly talking bollocks, but he wasn't just talking bollocks.
It's very Google Deep Dream in that case.
Yeah, because part of what EDGELRD has been set up to do is to use generative AI as part of its shorts and videos and movies. And I assume the AI content in this, there's a sort of running motif, particularly with Kate Middleton's sister, Chania Middleton, where patterns that are thematically linked to the film sort of play across people's skin. I assume that's what did it?
I believe it is. There's a lot of, one of the major things that uses kind of Instagram filter style technology with like the masks and so forth, which I think is quite interesting, the artificiality of it all and the wings on people, and kind of a rudimentary kind of CG work is really interesting as like an intentional kind of, I almost wonder what it would be like if it was a more straightforward, gritty, even more nuanced kind of crime film, but just happened to have these CG elements kind of giving it this kind of video game quality, even though it's this very real, grounded kind of like depiction of crime. And I'm going to be honest with this. Regardless of my general opposition to generative AI, I mostly found that it was a bit pick a gimmick, because I feel like you're doing the infra-red thing, you're doing the AI thing, you're kind of detracting from one or the other if you're trying to make a point with either.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe part of the problem there is that Korine doesn't see it as a gimmick. I mean, he's used it again on Baby Invasion. He seems to have used it there in a way that's kind of more thorough, more consistently present in the film, rather than
I
just...
don't know what I'll think of it. Obviously, beyond my general concerns, I think there's more focus from what I've heard about that, and it's something I think Harmony Korine is a really interesting filmmaker. So I'm curious to see what he does, but I don't know what I'll make of it. Other than that, I did see the hilarious Letterboxd review upon its first screening, which was "This is Harmony Korine's Skibidi Toilet."
That's one of the sort of things about it that I think is both frustrating and interesting, is that for all he's talked about, creating new cinema for the new generation, the truth is that the new generation are really frequent cinema goers, and I can't honestly see many of them preferring, these films that are very slow and very straightforward in a lot of ways to the other film that Travis Scott is currently in.
Indeed.
Whether that's a problem or not, I don't know. I think it's more interesting when people pick things up from like pop culture and youth culture and get it slightly wrong in a personal way rather than just pandering.
Love him. Love him so much, but unfortunately, I would love to see his Backrooms movie, because he's the kind of guy who would have put like getting chased by a giant PNG Kanye West head in the movie. He would, in fact, have put that in the film.
Yes. I don't think we can really top that, to be honest.
We can't.
I think it's quite unusual for one of our episodes to run under an hour, but then it's quite unusual for a feature-length film to be this simplistic. So
it's very true. I should also note it does end with a bunch of little guys playing with like a severed head. That is worth mentioning. The Jawa army, and also we haven't mentioned the phrase Rainbow Army yet.
Where did the Rainbow Army come into it again? I've forgotten that.
I don't know. It was related to Travis Scott and the company. And it was Travis Scott and his Rainbow Army came in. I really don't know what that had to do with anything. That was funny, but I don't know what it had to do with anything.
Well, do not tell Elon that there's someone in the Odyssey who has a Rainbow Army, because he will get even madder online.
He'll lose it. He'll ask Grok to take him out.
Yes. Well, he shouldn't. He should ask Bo to take him out.
It's true. It's true. You're gonna get this guy who got too big and too woke.
Yeah. We should probably sign off there. Robyn, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Real Robyn Adams on Blue Sky, and you can find me also about that on Instagram. You can find me at just Robyn Adams on Letterboxd if you want to see my deeply questionable takes on films. You find me at the Geek Show, where you can see my writing on film, where I regularly put out something or other, often on similarly odd films. I'm drawn to them.
Often on Nico Masterakis. You're very much our Nico Masterakis correspondent.
I am. I think they've run out of like Nico's films to like release on Blu-ray. I think I got through the last of them, unfortunately, unless he'll make another one. He probably won't. But there's still time, I guess. And you can hopefully keep up to date with the fact that I have another film in the works called The Shakes, which is currently, at the time of this going out, will be in production, hopefully.
Yeah. As for me, I've got a website. I've got a website at grahamwilliamsonfilms.com where you can keep up to date with any film or gallery art projects that I'm doing at the moment. I have an Instagram, which I'm actually looking towards actually keeping up to date, which I've been very bad at that recently. But that's at Graham W Film. I am on Letterboxd. Just search for Graham Williamson. And I'm also, as well as like Robyn, being regularly on the Geek Show, I'm regularly on the Geek Show Patreon, which is at www.patreon.com/The Geek Show. Where you can find all manner of bonus stuff, including, and something I particularly wanted to mention in light of what we've been discussing at the end here, our new arts and culture podcast, The Arts Hole, which by the time this episode is released, the second episode of that will have gone out, and it is our AI episode. And if you want to find out how a sterling piece of investigative journalism performed by a woman with a slice of bread on her face led to the downfall of a Strictly Come Dancing contestant, that unlikely story, that real life Harmony Korine scene of a story, is on the new episode of The Arts Hole. We talk about that, and it's great. It's a good little rabbit hole to go down. But we'll be back. I don't know what we're doing next. I'm going to do Highest to Lowest, the Spike Lee film, at some point in August, because I've been talking about doing that for ages. That may be the first thing that comes out in August. It may not. It was just juggling a few things, really. We're going to do a Patreon episode in August on Nick Cave's role in Ghosts of the Civil Dead. So if that doesn't get you signing up to our Patreon, I don't know what will. But we'll be back on the free feed in a fortnight's time. I've been Graham.
And I've been Robyn.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.